What's up, my friends? U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and there are some things that you have to do, some things you have to obey, regulations, rules, whatever, in the Army, and they suck. Does it mean we should change them? No, not necessarily. Maybe some of them, maybe, I don't know. But for the most part, these are things that they just suck in the Army. Rules that are in place for a reason, probably, but they still suck. Before we dive into these things that suck, make sure you're subscribed down at the bottom of the channel. If you're interested in Army stuff, I got a bunch of videos in here that you can check out and kind of learn about the Army, whether you're about to join or want to join or already in, whatever the case may be. Think about subscribing. Make sure you also click on the bell so you get alerts as soon as new videos go live. To include the live streams, we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers this year in 2021. So please, help me out. Let's make this happen. So let's talk about some things in the Army that suck. Rules are usually in place for a good reason, all right? But still doesn't mean that it sucks. So let's kind of dive into some things, starting off with one that a lot of my veteran friends are probably thinking of, or maybe people that are currently in the Army that are thinking of, and that is no walking on the grass. That sounds ridiculous, right? Well, yeah, it's a rule. I mean, depending on where you go, you know, maybe stricter than other places, especially like basic training AIT, probably really strict. At your unit, that kind of just depends. Where does this come from? You may have heard this term. Well, there are pretty strict individuals out there, especially like during basic training AIT, like your sergeant major or whoever, that tells you do not walk on the grass and you must stick to the pathway. So you cannot veer away from the dedicated sidewalk, concrete pathway, whatever the case is, and walk across the grass to take a shortcut to get across to where you need to go. For the most part, you know, if you're doing physical fitness, that's fine. You know, you have a dedicated physical fitness area that may have some grass on it, and that's probably fine to walk on, but maybe you have a nice, well-groomed grassy area in front of the battalion area, the company area, whatever, and there's no walking on the grass. Again, this definitely still plays into a factor of where you're at, right? I've had units where they didn't give a crap, right? It didn't really factor into it. But then I've also seen some units where they're, you don't walk on the grass, so make sure that you stick to the sidewalk. There's not like a sign or anything like there that says, hey, no walking on the grass, but it's just kind of like an unspoken rule of don't walk on the grass. Another rule that sucks comes from uniformity. The uniform for the day or being like everyone else, you know, can definitely mess with certain situations. A good example of that is, let's say that maybe the uniform for physical fitness is the winter PTs, but you have some people that maybe got wrong word or whatever the case was, and they show up without the jacket, maybe they're in the shorts and the jacket. It's supposed to be the uniform and they show up with just shorts and the t-shirt. Well, now everybody's got to downgrade and be like them. Because it's obviously easier for people to downgrade the jacket so they can look like them rather than, you know, having those people go and get their jacket if they live off post or whatever the case may be. So you gotta make everybody look the same, so it's easier to kind of downgrade. And there may be other cases too, where maybe it's chilly outside, but the uniform was summer PTs. Well, you can't just throw on the jacket to keep warm. Well, the uniform is summer PTs and everybody else is wearing summer PTs, so you too have to be in summer PTs. That can also be the case, like, you know, in, you know, the camouflage uniform. You know, there is a jacket that can be worn with that camouflage uniform, and if it's kind of chilly outside, but the uniform states that, you know, everybody else needs to, you know, be in just the regular uniform without the jacket, well, then you got to downgrade that jacket. And that can also go the same way too. Especially, this is mainly kind of applies during formations, right? During the work environment, not necessarily the case, but you're in formation and everybody has to look the same. So either everybody has to be wearing the jacket or nobody's wearing the jacket. And those can apply to other things too. Beanies, whatever the case is, everybody's gotta look the same, and sometimes that sucks. Another one that I know some of my veteran viewers and currently in the Army viewers are thinking about right now, hands in the pockets. Is it for a good reason? Maybe, right? I mean, if you're walking around with your hands in your pockets and, you know, you have to hurry up and take your hands out of your pockets to salute an officer, sure, that looks ridiculous. Probably other kind of factors in there too, but it definitely sucks, especially like in the winter time, right? You're trying to keep your hands warm and, you know, you can't put your hands in your pockets. I did see something, I think, from like the Sergeant Major of the Army when someone was asking about that or whatever, and he kind of came back with a good kind of answer saying just tell your NCOs or whatever that you're retrieving warmth from your pocket. Because the regulation actually states you can't have your hands in your pockets. That's a actually enforced like regulation, and you know, you're only allowed to put your hands in your pockets to momentarily retrieve items from your pocket. So his answer was, you know, just say you're momentarily retrieving warmth from your pocket. Some people have like a habit, right? It's just a comfortable thing to do. Stick your hands in your pockets, kind of hang out, whatever the case is. Can't do that in the Army though. Definitely, you know, something you probably should do in a combat zone, but you know, I don't really think it really matters that much, really. If you're in a garrison environment and you got your hands in your pockets, Does it look unprofessional? Maybe only because we're so used to that you don't ever see soldiers, you're not supposed to see soldiers, with their hands in their pockets. But really, in the long run, I don't really think it really takes away from professionalism that much. There are some environments, right, where you probably shouldn't have your hands in your pockets for safety reasons or whatever, but outside of that, I don't really see a big problem with it. Another rule that I think sucks that you have to kind of obey by in the Army is like visiting hours in the barracks. If you're a single soldier, there is a set standard as far as when you can and cannot have visitors in your barracks room. Is this one in place for a good reason? Yeah, probably, but that doesn't mean that it still doesn't suck. Especially like, it makes you feel like you're treated like a kid, right? You're a grown adult, you're in the military, and maybe you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend or whatever, and it's the weekend, and you want that person to kind of hang out with you, and you can drink until, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, have a fun game night, whatever the case might be, and be able to have that person, just crash on your couch or crash with you or whatever, like especially if it's your boyfriend or girlfriend. I feel like that should be an option that you should be able to do, but a lot of times it is in place to try to prevent people from taking advantage of the situation, because probably people will. People still do, right? People still do take advantage of the situation, but it still kind of sucks when you want to kind of feel more like an adult and not treat like a kid and have to be like, hey, your friend has to go now, it's playtime's over. Most commonly, barracks have like a curfew kind of a thing in place. That means that if it's the weekend, then maybe it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then if the next day is a work day, then it might be like, midnight or 1 o'clock. It sometimes varies based on the unit. How is this enforced? Well, typically, your CQ, the person that's kind of like on guard in the barracks 24 hours a day or whatever the case is going around and kind of monitoring that. And you're supposed to have visitors like check in, especially if they're outside of, being in the military, then they're supposed to check in at the CQ desk. But sometimes people find ways around this. There's ways to enforce it, but there's also ways to like get around it too. But would there be someone that would, take advantage of this? Sure, you probably would have someone that's, got their girlfriend living with them for the past month or whatever, or, having family members, stay with them for several months or whatever. So definitely there would be, have to be a way to kind of keep people from abusing this, but it sucks, right? If you didn't abuse it, it would be nice to be able to have that in place for single soldiers to make them feel more responsible, more like adults, and not like their parents telling them that their friend can only stay until a certain hour of the day. One more thing that probably sucks that you have to obey is kind of like the drinking law or the age limit. It sucks that, yeah, you can go to war for your country, but you can't go and have like a beer. Is it for a good reason? Maybe. Yeah, there probably is a good reason, kind of the thing for it. I mean, I know people that would probably take advantage of this and get completely trashed and wasted at the age of 18 or 19, and maybe you're not old enough to be drinking and responsible enough to be doing so. But I also know people that were like 21, 22, 25 that also probably shouldn't have been drinking because they weren't very responsible with it. So this one's a tough one, right? But it does suck that, hey, I can go to war, right, at the age of 18, 19 and be in the Army, but I can't go and sit in my barracks room and maybe have a few beers or whatever the case is. So maybe there should be a conversation as far as if you're in the military, maybe we should relax the drinking age or whatever the case is. I don't think like in general, maybe relax the drinking age, but maybe if you're in the military, possibly. Is there still going to be people who are 18 or 19 years old that are still going to drink? Yeah, of course. Would this completely make everything better? No, definitely not, right? Like I said, you could be an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that maybe is allowed to drink and is still going to abuse it, but I've seen people that are above the drinking age that still abuse this. People that are like 25 years old that probably get way too trashed and make an ass out of themselves or whatever and probably shouldn't have been drinking. Is there an easy fix to it? No, but it's still kind of in the back of your mind sucks that, you can go to war, you're in the Army maybe already, maybe you've already been to a combat zone, but then you come back from that combat zone and you can't even have a beer. Maybe the answer could be like something like if you're in the military, you're allowed to have like beer, but you can't have liquor. I don't know. There are a bunch of other things that probably some of you can think of that, suck, that you have to obey by, right? It's kind of dumb that you can't walk around and talk on your cell phone while in the uniform or whatever. While you're in uniform, you can't be like holding the hand of like your spouse or maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. That kind of sucks. I get that it's for like professionalism, right? But still a dumb rule. What are some things that you can think of, right? I know some of you are thinking of like the umbrella rule. There's an umbrella rule where you can't like use an umbrella while you're in uniform. But like I said, a lot of these rules are done for a good reason, right? I'm not saying we need to get rid of them, but they are still dumb rules. I'd love to hear from some of my veteran viewers or even people that are currently in the military. What are some other ones that maybe you can think of that are dumb? Maybe leave in the comment section down below. For the most part in the Army, in the military, You just gotta embrace the suck. That's what you gotta do about it, right? Doesn't mean we need to change rules, but sometimes you just have to embrace it even though it sucks. If you wanna know about some MOSs or some jobs in the Army that people hate, maybe that suck, check out this video right here. If you wanna see my latest upload, maybe a recent video from me, I got available for you right here. I have links down in the description for Instagram, for this shirt if you wanna pick it up off of Amazon, all sorts of stuff, so check out links down in the description. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.